In this tutorial we will be using free vector graphics from Freepik. Most of the files from them are in EPS file format, which works great in Adobe Illustrator. But my goal is always to use free software. In this case we will use Photopea and Inkscape. In Cartoon Animator 5, we will create a layered background, and navigate our spaceship through the layers, adjusting our ship with the spring editor to give a smoother looking flight path. Our first file is our alien. Unzip the images. I use the free software 7-zip. Here is the image we will be working with. Because the EPS vector file cannot be opened by Inkscape, we will use Photopea to convert it over to SVG file. It can be found at photopea.com. Drag and drop the EPS file into Photopea. Now you simply go up to File, Export As, and select SVG. Hit Save, and it will download the file in your Downloads folder. Here is our SVG file. In Inkscape, the first thing is to check if there are any layers present. Even though it says there is a Layer 1 folder, if you toggle the Switch to Layers icon, it will show that there is not an active layer there. Create a new layer with the plus icon. Open the Layer 1 folder, select the folder G4421. Drag and drop it into the Layer 1 document. Now you can delete the empty folder. Now remove all the unwanted graphics by selecting them and hitting delete. Toggle different folders, and in this case you can delete this whole folder to remove the unwanted background images. Right-click on the spaceship, click on the image, and when the curved arrows appear, rotate the image to a level position. I want to remove the alien's legs, so he sits lower in the saucer. Just select them, and hit delete. Let's save the new alien spaceship. Hit the Export tab, and down at the bottom rename the file as Spaceship. Make sure you select SVG as the file type. I use Inkscape SVG, hit Export. Save your work. Let's move on to the background. Unzip the files. Again use Photopea and convert the EPS file into an SVG file. Open the SVG file in Inkscape. If you notice, some of the images outside the document. Let's fix that. first select and delete these shadowed areas. Turn on Edit Paths by Nodes. Add a new node here, by left-clicking on the path line. Select these two nodes, while holding down the Shift key. You then have to select the rest of the nodes to be deleted. Select the button, Delete Segments between two non-endpoint nodes, to remove the unwanted section. Here is a little cut-in scene, to explain this operation. First I drew an object with the Bezier tool. Select the button, Edit by Nodes. I want to remove the lower part of the drawing. If you double-click on a line, you can add another node. Select the right node, and then while holding down Shift, hit the left. Notice they turn blue. While holding down the left mouse button, select the rest of the nodes to be removed. Then at the top, select Delete Segments between two non-endpoint nodes. Now to rejoin the nodes. Select the nodes again, while holding down the Shift key. This time, select Join selected N nodes with a new segment. Move the remaining nodes to be in line with the rest of the image. Check the rest of the image for other segments that are outside of the document, and remove them. I see the moon is also outside of the document. Select it and we can move it down. Let's save our work. In this section we will separate the layers so that we can create a parallax scene. Let's create different layers. Create a layer named ORG. If nothing is there except your ORG layer, select the Switch by Layers icon. Select the space layer, and move it to the ORG layer. Now create 4 more layers. You will need layers, background, midground 1, midground 2, and foreground. Reorder the layers if need be. Foreground on top, then midground 1, midground 2, and background. In the ORG layer, start selecting different folders until you find the front graphics. This one holds all the front graphics. Rename it to Mountains, and move it to the layer named Foreground. Let's check if we got everything. When done, make that layer invisible, and move on to the next. I find starting with the front layers first makes sorting things out easier. I'll do the next layers in high speed. At this point, I decided to separate the background mountains from the planets and sky. I created two separate background layers. With nothing left, delete the empty ORG layer. Save your work, and rename it. I named it Neon Alien Planet.svg. We now need to export each layer as a PNG for use in Cartoon Animator. Turn off the layers, except the foreground layer. Go to the Export tab. At the bottom, rename our output PNG to one foreground. Go back to the Layers and Object tab. Turn off the foreground layer, and turn on the layer, midground 1. Do the same operation of renaming and exporting all the other layers. And here are the PNG layers. I'm resizing the images to a smaller width, to 1920 pixels. Let's open Cartoon Animator 5, and set up our scene. I'm going to start the scene, starting from the back, and working forward. Drag Image 5 background into the stage area, select Prop, and then Static Image. At this stage, when adding background images, we always want to be on frame 1, in the timeline. Use the camera zoom to push back this layer to about -1000 on the Z-axis. Once you're there, expand the image to cover the camera's visible area. Add the next PNG image number 4, set the Z-axis to around -800. Then, image number 3 to around -600. Image number 2 to around -200. Select the Move tool, and we can move the camera around showing the parallax view. I wanted a little more movement of the planet. Let's push the Z-axis back around -2440. I think that looks better. Later, I noticed that I forgot to use image number 1. Onto the spaceship and the alien. In Cartoon Animator 5, drag Spaceship.svg into the stage area. Select Prop. Add bones by selecting the Add Bone button. Start by adding the first bone at the bottom, and proceed upwards. Select Bone 3, and select the Spring Editor. Select Assign to Group. Notice that Bone 2 is gray, and Bone 3 and upwards are red. Select the bottom bone, Bone 2, and hit Preview. With your mouse, wiggle that bone back and forth, and it gives a springy motion. You can select other motions to see their effects. Let's try the default setting. Now let's save our spaceship. Under the Content tab, select Custom, Props, Props again, and Animated Prop, and hit Save. Name your creation. Select Open File, and select our project Spaceship. Drag in the alien spaceship. Let's reduce the size. Bring up the timeline, make sure you started on frame 1. Notice the spaceship is not behind this rock layer. Push it behind this layer, by reducing its Z-axis. Advance to frame 30. Move the spaceship to the center of the stage. Let's try it out. That's not going to work. Let's try a different spring setting though. Bring up the spring editor. Going to try the stiff setting. Not bad. It gives a little tip forward when it stops. I think I'll add a little more bounce. Open the Transform tab. Here you can see the movements. Move to frame 40, left-click to put in another transform point. Go to frame 70, and move the spaceship out of the stage, on the right. Hit play to see the action. I want a longer pause in the middle. Move the transform point from 40 to 50. And move point 70 to 80. Now for some fine adjustments. At frame 1, right-click on the diamond, and select Transition Curve. Select Acceleration. At frame 30, select Deceleration. Frame 50, select Acceleration. And, at frame 80, Deceleration. This will allow a fast takeoff, and then, a deceleration to the next point. Now, for the return, back across the stage. Move the Z-axis forward, so that it's in front of the glow rocks on the left, but behind the foreground layer. For setting up our return trip across the stage, enlarge the image so it looks closer. Continue to advance the timeline, adding points, and adding the transition curves. Let's render our clip. Select Render at the top, then Render Video. Set format to MP4. Output size to HD 1080p. Hit Export. Name your file. If you notice, it's rendering 2000 images. I forgot to shorten the frame lengths. Hit Cancel. Open the project settings, and set the frames to 200. Export again. And here is our clip. I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial on how to change EPS files into SVG files for CTA5. Then use of the springs function. to get smooth and more natural movements. If you haven't done so already, please take a few seconds to subscribe, like and hit notifications, to be notified of my next video. Thank you for joining my journey of animation.